Hi everyone, I hope you are well. Welcome again to episode number whatever it is. So this time we're looking at the ethical, legal, cultural and environmental part 2. There's one more to go. Please say hello in the comments and I will welcome you heartily. I hope you're all doing well today. So we looked last time at the sort of the ideas behind the cultural, ethical, legal and environmental, but I want to kick off today with a bit of a rewind and see if you can remember this from last week. Hi Matthew, how you doing? Hope all is good. Hi Aditya, thank you for coming. Good to see you. Hi Hash Brown, hope all's good. Hi Sergen, how's things? Thanks for coming guys. We've got Aditya again. It's B. Oh, it's B, the answer. Ooh, B. So what's this? What is meant by the term stakeholder? A stakeholder is the person who owns. Ooh, hello Flynn, how are you doing? Thanks for coming, old boy. Hash Brown thinks B as well. A stakeholder is anyone who has an interest in or a concern about. Sergen's gone in for B as well. So we think that is it. That looks pretty good to me. I tend to agree with you guys. Should we find out? So I can confirm to you it's B. So that is outstanding. So let's go on to the next one. I think we should celebrate with a swift air horn, which means that I need to kill my sound there, which I always forget to do. Okay, so the next one. So again, we're going back to last week. So what is the cultural impact of digital technology? I think the cultural one's always quite slippery to get hold of. Having a bag of these that you can go in with and try to adapt to your question. Because don't forget to hit that top band. You've got to make sure that you are answering the scenario head on. So the cultural impact of digital technology. Digital divide. What do we think? Ooh, Sergen has got, hang on, we've got Aditya who's saying A. We have got Sergen who's gone for A. Looking good, chaps. Any more? Hi, Hash Brown. A2. Let's see what we've got. Flynn's gone for A. Let's have a look and see what we have. The correct answer is dun dun dun. It is A. Actually, I was saying dun dun dun. I've got a sound which does exactly that, which typically I can't find. But yeah, I've got some new sounds, which is very exciting. I'm not quite sure how loud they are. Hi, Swiftblade. How you doing? Thanks for coming. The answer is A. You guys are absolutely spot on. That's good. Okay, let's move on and have a look at the next one. So this is, what is a benefit of using robots in the health service in the future? What do we think the benefit of using robots in the health service in the future will be? And there was this question about healthcare, wasn't there? And thinking about the ability to make fewer mistakes. Oh, the answers are coming in. We've got Aditya with C. Bogdan, hi Bogdan. Bogdan with C. We've got Hash Brown with C. Sergen with C. We've got Swiftblade with C. And hi, Emily May, how you doing? Thanks for coming. We've got Emily May with C, and Flynn has come in with C. I've got to say, it's looking good. It is C, if only my head, I always turn the wrong way, if only my head wasn't in the way. Okay, so C is correct. I've got a few more of these, and then we'll crack on with the legal side of it. Define ethics, or ethics with an F, depends on how you want to do it. What is it? Rules for how to behave in certain situations, a set of moral principles that govern someone's behaviour actions, or the right for your personal data to be kept private? What are ethics, do we think? Now, I think that Aditya has just come in with a B. And Emily May is quick on there, in there with a B. Sergen's come in with a B. Swiftblade also thinks it's a B. Hi, Henry, how's it going? Thanks for coming, dear boy. And we've got Bogdan, Henry with a B, and Bogdan with a B, and Flynn with a B. We've all gone B crazy, and Swiftblade with a B too. Well, let's have a look and see what the answer is. Hash Brown with a B, all there. Okay, I think they were all B'd up here. Let's have a look and see. Is it B? It is B. Right, let's go for the next one. I hope the explosion wasn't too loud. Right, what's next? Oh, I've got to do some teaching. So that is the this part 2. Now, how can I tell you this the easy way? We're doing the legal side. The legal side is not the most interesting part of this topic, but it's a really good place to get marks. So we are on the last stretch now. We've done system architecture, memory and storage, computer networks, connections, protocols, all that sort of stuff. ethical, legal and cultural. And now we're going to look at the legal side of it. Now, next week, I'm going to do one more of these. And I'm going to focus on actually writing that sort of mini essay. So I'm going to go in a slightly different way next week and not actually give you any teaching as such, but really just focus on how you can make sure you use those 8 minutes to get the best mark you can. Can you get to the top boundary in this topic? So we're going to look at the legal side this week. And just so we're clear, when we talk about legal, it is going to be anything relating to right or wrong in the eyes of the law. Moral is right or wrong in the eyes of people, what people believe. Whereas if there's a legal framework around it, there's obviously laws around it, and there are courts to actually uphold those laws. So it is related to what's right or wrong in the eyes of the law. I know I'm stating the obvious, but there is that sort of difference between cultural and legal. So this is what you do and don't need to know. The purpose of each legislation, we'll look at the legislation shortly, the need to license software. So you've got a couple of software licensing, couple of different licenses to understand, and the purpose of a software license, what it does for the creators, really. And then the features or the characteristics of open source software and the characteristics of proprietary. So those are the two forms of software license you're going to look at there. And then they might ask you to recommend a type of license. And this recommend is sounding familiar, isn't it? If you remember the wired or wireless, making the recommendation for a connection type for a given scenario, which gives you a chance to make a recommendation for one mark and then to use all of those items that we discussed in terms of wireless would be the ease of setting it up, the fact you don't have to alter the fabric of the building, the fact that you can scale it up and add more users quickly. Whereas if you go for wired, it's going to be faster, it's going to be more secure. So those sorts of things, except this time we're looking at software and legislation. Okay, so now we know what we're going to be looking at. Let's think about the acts in particular we're going to focus on today. We've got the Data Protection Act, Computer Misuse, Copyright Design and Patents Act, and software licenses. Do know the year. They may or may not ask you, but do know the year. So those are the four sort of parts that we need to cover today. Where are we? 37, 7 minutes in. So let's get this bit done and dusted. So the 5-minute teach. I will send you the PDF of this afterwards, and don't forget that you can also access the information that I'm showing you. The what's it called? The knowledge organizer that I've made for this. Right, legal and privacy issues. So computers, and don't forget, this topic is about the way that computers has changed the world. And one of the ways that computers has changed the world is that some of them are good and some of them are negative ways that it's changed the world. But computers bring new crimes and new concerns. And examples of that are illegally sharing personal data, and that's a privacy thing, which can lead to fraud, stealing financial information, illegally copying and distributing films, TV programs, or extorting or blackmailing people. So some examples there of some of the concerns and the issues raised by using computers. So let's look at the Data Protection Act. This is the more general explanation here, and I go into more detail afterwards. So the DPA covers data stored about people. For example, user account details, social media posts, anything, if it's stored about an individual. And it's whether or not the data is actually recognizable as belonging to a person, because we obviously have much data stored about us online. And this also includes GDPR, and GDPR has become a huge issue over the last couple of years. So, for example, when we have Inset Day, when you're all still at home enjoying yourselves, and we have got to go in and listen to various lectures, GDPR is always there about keeping your data and our data secure. And GDPR focuses on what organizations need to do to keep data secure. Right, this is quite a page full here. So I will send you a copy of this. Take a picture of it if you want to. But the Data Protection Act controls how your information is used by organizations. And I've tried to distill everything that you need to know about data protection into this one slide. So if you know the bullet points here, you're done. So this is everything they could possibly expect you to know. So the UK's implementation of the the GDPR is the Data Protection Act of 2018. And this act contains what they called data protection principles. And these principles are about how you need to handle data. And you see, that's one of the examples. And going and thinking about that, Aditya, it's a good example because, you know, we talk about stakeholders. Well, one of the stakeholders in that would be the people who made Avengers. Was it a Marvel film, The Avengers? Well, I think it was, wasn't it? And not as if they're short of money, but if everyone gave away their film, they wouldn't make any money at all. So it is that thing about downloading pirated copies. Yes, you get it for free. Yes, the quality won't be great. Yes, you're probably breaking the law, but also the people who should get paid for making it aren't actually going to make any money out of it, which then means that maybe fewer films will get made. So there's that sort of moral thing. It's a bit like downloading the cracked codes for Photoshop or any other application that you could find online, but actually it means that then the manufacturer hasn't got the money to go to carry on making it, possibly. So these principles, okay, that data must be used fairly, lawfully and transparently. In other words, companies need to be clear with their clients what the data is for. And actually this takes several forms here. It must be used for specified, explicit purposes. Oh no, it's saying it's going to restart my computer. I don't want to do that. Try in an hour. Whew, that would have been close. Would have been the shortest live stream in the history of mankind. So the data's got to be used for a specified purpose and used in a way that's adequate, relevant and limited to what's necessary. Now, all of these boil down to the same thing. If they collect your data, it should be for a given specific purpose and nothing else. So not just collect your data and then use it in a variety of ways, some of which they wouldn't have told you about. The data, so for example, selling your data onto a third party. So when you get something for free off the internet or you join a new website or a forum, you usually have to give your email address. And then there's a button somewhere that you can click to say, please do or please do not spam me with 10 emails per day for the rest of my life. But if they then go and sell your data onto a third party, that's using it in a way that they haven't told you about. I hope that gives you an idea of what this is about. The data they collect about you needs to be accurate, so it needs to be kept up to date. So for example, for a website that I own, you get asked every year, are your details still accurate? Don't keep data for longer than necessary. So if you are, for example, I don't know, if the driving instructor is keeping your data, once you've passed your test, they should delete the data. It's got to be handled securely, so making sure that the data is password protected or encrypted. All right, so those are the principles of data protection. The first three there are really pointing and talking about the same sort of thing, and then the rest of them are all slightly different. So I hope that makes sense. That's the DPA. It's a bit dry, but if a question comes in about that, it's a very, very easy way to make marks. All right, Computer Misuse Act. It's much easier to understand this one because this is about committing crimes with computers. So gaining unauthorized access to computer systems, so hacking in other words, and it applies to all data. If you're accessing someone else's data without permission, then you are breaking the Computer Misuse Act. So the aim of the Act, and the reason I've got these bubbles on the side there, is that from the specification, they talk about the purpose of the Act, the actions it allows or prohibits, and those are the areas that you need to understand. So Computer Misuse Act, 1990, it aims to protect the confidentiality, integrity and availability of computer systems. And then it's established various offences, such as unauthorised interference, interception of computer systems, false publishing of data, and think fake news for that, cyber harassment, cyber following people, cyber terrorism, identity theft, and all of these crimes have been created as part of they are part of the Computer Misuse Act. So all of these crimes sit within that legislation, all right? And those crimes you can recognise because you hear about them on the news: forgery, identity theft, and so on. For example, a phishing scam is often done in order to carry out identity theft. Cyber harassment, they will use they can use data to try to find out where you are. So, you know, for example, phones will give off geolocation information. So that would be part of the part of following people, and so on. So you can see that there's an awful lot within this Act. And the Act requires that service providers, those, for example, BT, Virgin, and so on, they actually help the authorities in trying to solve those crimes, and hefty penalties if you break them. So that's computer misuse. It gives you a good flavour of what's there. They very often do a 3 or 4 mark question where they've got one of those grids where they'll give an example of a crime, and then they've got a tick list at the top saying computer misuse, data protection. And you've got a tick to say which one it would be. So if it was intercepting someone's emails, that would be computer misuse. All right. Design, copyrights and patents, again, pretty straightforward. This one is obviously about keeping people's intellectual property. So if you have an idea, you write a book, or you make some music, or you make a film, it's your intellectual property. Like the Avengers Endgame that Aditya mentioned earlier, that's an example of intellectual property. And Copyright Design and Patents Act is designed to protect that. So it's illegal to copy software, to pirate software, to transmit Premier League games, and so on, which is why those that do it from a different country. So let's jump into the detail here. 1988, by the way. The purpose of the Act is to protect the intellectual property. That's the sort of key phrase there. And of course, it's the idea that time, money, and human endeavour has gone into actually making these products. It is there to protect, and this is who does it cover, the authors of the books, composers of music, and so on, those who've actually put in time, effort, and spent money, the producers of the film, to actually create these works. Why does it cover them? Because they invest their time to do it, so they should be able to earn money from their endeavours. And the specific purpose is to make sure that people are rewarded for their endeavours, for the work that they do. All right, so that's the Copyright Design and Patents Act. Now then, we've only got one more thing to do in terms of the learning today, and that is looking at software licenses. You need to understand the difference between open source and proprietary software, a word that I struggle to say. Open source software, Moodle, which is it's a virtual learning environment that a lot of teachers use. It stands for Modular Object-Oriented Developmental Learning Environment. Moodle is an example of open source software. Firefox, that web browser, that's open source as well. Open source works like this. The people who create the code writers, they make the code freely available, so people can copy and modify the code. So for example, if you've used OBS, so to do this streaming, when I was doing the streaming for Hazelwood Yellow for the photography group over lockdown, I was using OBS because it was free. It was a bit of a pain to learn to use, had a really steep learning curve, but it was free and it was open source. And there were lots of modules and add-ons and plugins that people had written, sort of coders had gone and created, so it could add functionality to it. Huge community working on OBS, and it had its advantages and disadvantages. One of the disadvantages was it was quite hard to learn. And one of the disadvantages was that if someone wrote a plugin and it didn't work, well, it didn't work, and that was that. And if someone wrote a plugin for Windows, it might not work on Mac. It almost certainly wouldn't, so they had to write. So there were pluses and minuses, basically. So with open source, you can copy, modify, and share. The source code's available. There's a huge community of developers. And can you see I've put copy, modify, and share and source code freely available as plus, as definite advantages. Support from a community of developers can be an advantage in that there are lots of people all pulling together. There's a great sense of community. They work together on forums, trying to solve coding problems, trying to add functionality to the software, working together. So there's a really nice community there. But the problem is that it means that bugs won't necessarily be fixed as and when, because people aren't doing this full time. It's something they're doing as a hobby. The updates from community of developers, again, if they work, it's great. But if they don't work, you haven't got any fallback because you haven't paid for it, so you can't make demands of these people. The testing may be less formal, and for that reason, things may not get tested properly, so they'll get rolled out, and actually, it might crash your computer. It can be adapted to meet the specific needs, so it means that you can modify the software for your own purposes. So you're not stuck with an off-the-shelf package. You can actually modify the software so that it actually meets your exacting requirements. Another negative is the installation may require special technical expertise that you may not have. OBS was really hard to learn, for example, but I was quite determined because it was so free. Proprietary software is the opposite. This is the software that is sold by software houses. So, for example, Windows is an example. Aditya with a really good question here. Okay, yes and no. Linux, Linux, that's an example of an open source operating system. And it's really popular. It's a great operating system. And so there are lots and lots of plugins and mods for it. A bit like Minecraft, you know, that's kind of open source, and you've got a big community adding mods to it. But then Windows and OS X, they're not, they're locked down. So let's look at proprietary in terms of what that means. You can't copy or modify or share the code. The source code isn't. Yeah, do you know what? I've never used it. I know lots of people who do and who swear by Linux and say it's absolutely brilliant. But I've never used it. There's usually a cost, not always a cost, for proprietary software. I mean, for example, with Mac OS X, it comes bundled with the Mac, but you do have to buy the Mac computer, so it's not free. You do get support from the manufacturer. You do get updates, regular patches. The software should, not always. For example, when they release a new version of Windows, a patch comes out within 3 weeks that's actually larger than the original version of Windows. I can believe that. I've been very up and down on Microsoft. Windows 98 was my favorite ever. It shows how old I am, because you could really configure your machine with that, but it's become more and more and more locked down since. So meets a variety of needs and simple installation methods. All right. So that's the list of advantages and disadvantages. And again, proprietary software, it costs money, but usually it's more reliable, or it can be more reliable than open source software. All right. So that's the difference. And again, they may choose a company, or give you an example. It'll be OCR Trading, because they love to do that, and talk about their needs. And then you've got to pick a software license and say why. I just think they may go for a few scenarios this time. We'll wait and see. I will do a video for you over the course of the week on the spec and how it's changed, just so you've all got that. Right, software licenses. So that really is pretty much all that we need to worry about. Bit more detail on this. Distributed with its source code. And the source code, you know that when you open up Windows, you open the code that has already been compiled. So the source code, the actual code, is made available, so you can modify it. The programmer may fix budges. No budges, anyway, fix bugs, and it may improve functions. So those are the ideas that I think I've been through most of that. That when you buy proprietary software, the high-level code will already have been compiled to machine code, and users often pay for it. You can't say always, because people don't always pay for proprietary software. But anyway, that is a bit more of a detailed list there. But between this slide and the previous one, that is everything you need to know about software licenses. All right. We have done exceptionally well. So I think that it is time for us to go to... Let's do quiz time. So what about this one? What does the Data Protection Act give an individual the right to do? Drive on the wrong side of the road. Wear a hat covered in feathers, or blink repeatedly. What do we think? What do we think? A, B, or C? What do we think it could be with here? With here, on here? What do we reckon? What does the DPA give an individual the right to do? Any ideas? It's all gone quiet. All gone quiet. Oh, Swift Blade has come in. I thought everyone had gone home there. Swift Blade with the B. Aditya has come in with a C. Anything else? What do we think? What do we think? What does the DPA give an individual the right to do? Flint come in with a C. Come in with a C. Any more? Any more for any more? Emad, hi Emad, how you doing? Come in with a C. Any more ideas? We've had a B and a C so far. We've got Sergen with a C. Interesting. Right, let's have a look. The answer to this one is we've got Hash Brown, who's come in with a non-answer. Oop, Emily May is in with a C. Okay, let's have a look and see what the answer is. The answer is it is C, which is excellent. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Swiftblade, you came in with a C. That was correct too. All right, what about this one? Which legislation covers the act of intellectual property theft? I did use the intellectual property phrase about 2.5 billion times. Any ideas? Ooh, Aditya's coming with a B straight away. The Copyright Design and Patents Act. Any more takers on Flynn's? Oh, you're moving. Flynn with a B. Hash Brown with a B. Swiftblade with a B. Bogdan with a B. Emily May with a B. Yeah, you guys are right. It is B. And Sergen with a B. Not too late. We still get Sergens in there. Outstanding. Right, next. Question number 3. Which of the following, Emad was correct with a B as well, by the way. Which of the following statements is true about open source software? The software can be copied, modified, or shared. The software cannot be copied, modified, or shared. There's normally a cost to pay for a license to use the software. Ooh. Aditya with a B. Any more for any more? What do we think? I can see the answers pouring in here. We've got Bogdan with an A. Hash Brown with an A. Oh, I've missed out. Oh. Swiftblade with an A. Aditya with an A. Sergen with an A. Emily May with an A. Oh, you guys are quick. We've got Hash Brown with an A as well. All right, let's have a look and see what it is. Aditya said, sorry. Don't be sorry. Life's too short. Especially after you got robbed today by EduCake. It is A. The software can be copied, modified, or shared. Outstanding. You all got that. Flynn, did I congratulate you? Yes, I did. Okay, brilliant. Let's go. How many more have we got? Not many. Question 4. Charlie uses social media regularly. Oh yeah, Unifrom, that was what it was. Charlie uses social media regularly. What step would you recommend to be more secure online? We're assuming that Charlie has friends, but let's not bully Charlie because it's not clever and it's not funny. But Charlie uses social media regularly. What step would you recommend to be more secure online? Don't go online. Don't have any friends. Swiftblade says A. Always use the same password. It's what we all do, isn't it? It's what we all do. Use the same password to everything. B. Only post non-private data and pictures. Or should you post all of your private stuff online all the time? Because that would be really sensible. Emily May with B. Sergen with B. Swiftblade with B. What does this say? What's the last one? Yeah, not a very sensible one. Okay, so let's have a look. I think we've possibly nailed this one. 58. We are close. I think I've got to squeeze in one more of these. Okay, so you're absolutely right. Only post non-private. I think this is the last one. Which legislation governs the act of hacking? This isn't hacking people's limbs off, incidentally. This is hacking. It gets more violent towards the end because I want my pizza. Which legislation governs the act of hacking? Ooh. We've got Swiftblade with a B. We've got Aditya with a B. We've got Sergen with a B. We've got Hash Brown with a B. Swiftblade with a B twice. That was B was your previous one. Still a B. We've got Emily May with a B. Okay. I think you guys have nailed it. Oh, Flynn got in there with a B. Good. It was C. That's a mistake. It's not. It was B. Oh, God dear me. It's just awful, isn't it? Yeah, sorry. So it is the Computer Misuse Act. That tick is in the wrong place. Shocking. You can't get the staff, can you? All right. So that is good. 59. Oh, there's one more. Which of the following statements is false about proprietary software? And also we'll find out whether, oh, and you were right. Flynn, you were right. Bogdan, you were right. Emad, you were right. If only I had put the right answer on there. So Aditya thinks that the following statement is false about proprietary software. The software can be copied, modified, or shared. What do we think? Is Aditya right? Swiftblade thinks it's B. A fee is usually required to purchase a software license. Sergen says A, the software can be copied. I can actually see that I think the answer to this one's wrong as well. Let me have a quick check and see, because I think there are two that are right here. So yeah, okay. Which of the following statements is false? It is false. Software cannot be copied. So A is correct. A fee is usually required. That is true. A fee is usually required, so that's not false. So the answer is A. Okay, blimey. It's been a long day. It took me a while to work that one out. Hash Brown got it right. Emily May is a superstar and got it right. Flynn got it right. Emad got it right. So we're all there. God, this timing's quite good because we get to the last slide, which is next time. And I'm not going to keep you beyond 7 o'clock. I must finish before it turns to 7:01. Do tune in next week for some hints on how we'll do this 8-mark extended writing. Guys, have a lovely evening and I will see you all tomorrow. Have fun. Take care. Bye-bye.